Good morning, Dylan Mangel here with Nebraska Extension, and today I'm looking around in our TAPS competition plots. So follow along, I'll just show you a little bit of what we're seeing along the way, and maybe we'll find something interesting out there. First thing I want to point out is we're seeing mushrooms in here, but these are not the white mold mushrooms. Notice that the caps are not inverted, there's gills on the bottom, and the next giveaway is these are growing on residue. They look like they're just breaking down what's in the field from last year. They're not going to impact corn, but be aware when you do see mushrooms, there's likely other mushrooms nearby, and if this field had a history of white mold, it could be white mold mushrooms. One of the first things I'm coming across out here is what looks to be like a little bit of sudden death syndrome showing up at the top of the plants, and that's where it's going to show up first, this symptom with sudden death syndrome. So pretty vibrant symptoms. Let's pull these out and split one. This is a non-calculated row from the TAPS trial here, so let's see what this is going to look like inside of there. And I also want to note that this had a seed treatment on it for sudden death syndrome, and this is a variety with a decent rating against sudden death syndrome. So this can happen if conditions are right, and we're in a little bit of a lower spot in this field, so that might have contributed as well. So down low on the plant, notice there's no major symptoms on the outside of the stem, and then if you look around that taproot, which noticeably broke off when I pulled it lightly, we don't see any of that blue growth that's common with sudden death syndrome, but often we don't see that in Nebraska. We see that more often in the I-states. And inside that stem, all we see is a little discoloration around the crown. This is not, hasn't progressed completely, this disease. But noticeably, we don't have any internal brown stem rot. That would have linked this to be a brown stem rot instead of a sudden death syndrome. So always take time and figure out which you're seeing: sudden death syndrome, brown stem rot, fungicide symptoms. Just figure out what those interveinal chlorosis symptoms are if you see it. All right, off to the next problem. Out in these plots, we are seeing just a little bit of brown spot down low. Now, this is something that's just always going to be down there. It's really common. And it's only ever an issue if it moves up the plant, which it's very rarely going to do. In fact, I've never seen this cause economic problems. So just be aware of that. Damage down low with certain foliar things is just not going to be a problem. Soybean gall midge is another problem we're seeing. If you notice, this plant was just sort of wilting down in the lower canopy. It hadn't broken off, but the symptoms were nondescript. They just look like plant wilting. And there's some fungal spots on there, but they'll sort of jump on anything that's stressed at times. And if you look here, the base, the brown stem doesn't progress up, it's just down there at the base. If I peel that open, there is some gall midge in there, and there's that gall midge right on the right side of the stem. So this is common. If you see snapping plants at the edge of a field, pull them up and peel that open. Peel that right open and see if there's any gall midge in there. They're not always going to be visible or easy to see, but oftentimes they are. So I'd say as we stand, the dominant issue out here as far as disease is probably sudden death syndrome. There's really not a lot of foliar stuff going on otherwise, no frog eye. I didn't see any white mold yet, although that could continue to show up, but sudden death seems to be the late season issue this year. So keep an eye out for that, take good notes, and we're excited for TAPS because we had sudden death syndrome seed treatments as options in this. So we're going to see how that works out and correlates out at the end and see if those made a big improvement or not. Thanks again for watching. I'm Dylan Mangel with Nebraska Extension in the TAPS plots today.